Hey, just give me 5 minutes to show you something amazing. In this video, either before or after a quick lesson full of traps, I'm going to be testing the Mujannah formation in real games across different time controls. And I'm talking about 3-minute Blitz, 2-minute bullet, and ultra fast 1-minute bullet, or even less. But which time control truly favors the Mujannah formation? Well, stick around, we'll find out against real opponents on leeches. Let's dive in. So, the Mujannah formation. This is where white starts with d4, and then you go pawn to c5. First, this is called the Benoni defense, or the old Benoni. Oftentimes, white plays d5, gaining more central space, but instead of playing pawn to d6, you want to shock your opponents by going pawn to f5, now known as the Mujannah formation or the Mujannah formation. So think of this as the improved Dutch, or a combination of the Dutch and the Benoni. Now, the only thing I remember here is to be quick in development on the king side before playing pawn to d6. Whatever you do after that is up to you. Sometimes because of the possibility of pawn to e4, after c4, to keep things simple, play knight f6, because that's what is natural in this position. If bishop g5 comes, you can even play knight e4 first. Bishop that, g5. The bishop is going to be trapped. By the way, if pawn to f3, you have queen a5, check. Knight c3, knight takes, and the bishop is dead. So that's how you trap the dark squad bishop. So just go knight e4, because if they play bishop h4, you know you are winning. If they play bishop f4, now you go d6. If pawn to f3, again you have queen a5. They are not going to see this move, I promise. Knight d2, you can play g5, but a more stable move is knight f6. Just going back, bishop g5 again, knight b d7, and you're going to develop your pieces naturally. If they don't rush out with this dubious bishop g5 move, and let's say they go knight c3, now this is when you go pawn to g6. If bishop g5, you happily play bishop g7, knowing that bishop takes can be met with this. If knight f3, you castle short. I'll play pawn to d6. I don't want you to be limited to these moves. You see, sometimes after playing bishop g7, white may play pawn to d6, but you don't ever want to capture on d6. That's the only rule. And if that happens, you can even try this simple trap, knight e4. Nobody's going to see this, trust me. Point is, if they take like this, first you have queen a5, which most people are not going to see, but even better is knight takes. You are attacking that queen, and if pawn takes, you are going to win a free queen like this. Pap, and save your queen with tempo. So if they capture your queen with their bishop, now you take like that, their bishop is still under attack. They are going to lose a piece either ways. Say rook takes, because what else can they do? And then pap. In this position, you're just up a piece. So this is one simple trap that you can try if white tries to play pawn to d6. You just go knight e4. It's a very tricky move. Most of your opponents are not going to see that. Even if they take with a pawn, you still have queen a5. Look at that. If bishop d2 this time, what else can you do? You win a pawn like that. Pawn takes, you oversimplify the game like this. Look. Queen takes, you might even win a free rook on a1. So in all of these lines, you have seen that pawn to d6 is not a big concern due to knight e4. Even if they take, you can simply take like that, knowing that you still have queen a5 check, even queen b6. There are so many ways to kill a rat. The pawn on e7 is just your defender, in other words. Why is this bad for white? Because all of their kingside pieces are sleeping while your pieces are super active. So don't worry, white is not going to play pawn to d6 if they know chess. They'll play moves like knight f3 in this position, after which you can simply castle short or play pawn to d6 yourself first, completing your development successfully. Anyway, after white plays c4, sometimes you can start with pawn to g6 because you want to develop your dark squad bishop first. Say knight c3. Now it makes sense to go knight f6 so that bishop g5 can easily be met with bishop g7. You want to take back on f6 with your dark squad bishop. Maybe they will play knight f3, who knows? Now that your king side is well developed, you can consider playing pawn to d6. Sometimes you may ask, what happens if white plays pawn to d6? You know what? You have all sorts of moves. First, knight e4 is okay. The rule is not just to take. You can do whatever you want, but don't just take, period. They're not going to do that most of the times. They're going to play knight f3, after which you go pawn to d6 and continue playing your chess. You castle short, you play s6, you play knight d7, you put your rook on b8, you play b5, you play knight b6. I'm just giving you heads up. Don't even bother to push pawn to e6. because your d6 pawn will be very weak, like 7 days. Anyway, now you know it is time for me to test the Mujannah formation in 3 games. The first game will be a 3-minute Blitz match. The second game will be a 2-minute bullet match. And the last game will be a 1-minute bullet match. Let's see which one will be your favorite. And hey, don't just watch. That's not encouraging at all. To keep this channel alive, you can simply share this video, hit the like button, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have nothing to say, just type "Thank you, Kaspa" in the comment section down below. Lastly, if you want to go through my study PGNs, such as the one I'm using in this study, you can visit my Patreon page. The link is in the comment section down below. Right, I'm playing against a 2096 rated opponent, and it's time to play the Mujannah formation. C5, F5. I'm sure my opponent won't be familiar with this system that I developed or pushed some weeks ago. In this position, I was expecting my opponent was going to play C4, which is the top played move in the Lichess database. But anyways, Knight C3 is still the top played move in the Masters database. So the idea is to finish my kingside development first with G6 and Bishop G7 before playing pawn to D6. That's what I said. You always want to start with Knight F6 to avoid the move E4, which is the stun turn move. And whenever you see Bishop G5, just know that your opponent wants to mess up your pawn structure on the king side. Should you play something like G6, so they would take and then you would take back. That's okay, but it's not what you want to run into due to pawn to D6 in some variations. But even that is fine. So the move to consider in this position is Queen B6, which attacks the B2 pawn and also defends your knight. Okay, so opponent just played Queen D2. I don't really understand the reason. I can just take if I want to, but I'm sure white is going to play Rook B1 and then I have to start running. So here, let me just continue with G6. So the idea is to put my bishop on G7, yep. And now I'm eyeing the B2 pawn like for real. So imagine if I play Knight E4, I'll just be one move away from checkmating my opponent. I hope that won't be the case, because this video will be too short. So it is in these kinds of positions where you can consider playing pawn to D6 after you've already completed your development on the king side. And there we see this move that I was talking about, E4. Given a chance, you always want to chase the dark squared bishop. If bishop takes, you take back with your dark squared bishop. That will be advantageous for you. Or maybe I should have tried pawn takes, and after pawn takes, then knight takes. In fact, that's what I'm going to do if white retreats the bishop. I'll just take and sacrifice my knight. Oh, okay. So there we see that move. I can still take. Next, I want to take with my knight, attacking both the queen and the other knight. Remember that I have checkmate. So I can just take. If white takes, the video will be too short. I'll just take with my queen and not with my hands. So see my Mujannah bishop sitting on G7, spying on that poor pawn on the B2 square. So this is definitely an opening to try even in serious games, serious tournaments. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Bishop B5 check, but I have knight d7, blocking the check with my queen's knight and not with my elbow. And it's always great to take with your king when you're playing the Mujannah formation. In fact, the safest square for your king in the Mujannah formation is the d8 square. I talked about all these in my first tutorial video, so never be ashamed of playing king d8 or king d7. Now you can activate your rook like I have done. Rook e8, e5. Okay, let me just take now. The burden is just too much. Yep, that leaves the g4 pawn hanging. I can even protect it like this and try to trap the queen somehow, even though there's bishop g5. Yeah, like my opponent took so long to play an obvious move. Let's attack the bishop. Next, I plan to activate my rook because it's not doing anything on h8. I mean my king's rook. What is that? Counter-attacking my bishop. I think white just helped me repositioning my bishop on a better square. It's more active on f5 than where it was. Yeah. So now I can activate my h-rook just like I said. And I have other intentions to play e4. Yep. I mean bishop d4, not e4. And maybe queen s6. Oh, let's just trade. 11 seconds. I should be careful with my time. Check. Should get rid of my weakness anytime soon. Oh, that's a beautiful one. That's a good one. Let's get rid of our weakness. What am I doing? Oh, okay. That's my savior. I didn't see this move at first. I thought I completely lost. I think I still have a great position, if I'm not mistaken. What is that? My opponent just blundered in a time scramble. And they just resigned. So the next game will be a 2-minute bullet match featuring the Mujannah formation. Okay, let's go pawn to c5. I want to play the Mujannah formation. Can I still allow white to see this move? d5. I think they just pre-moved that too early. So let's go. Kind of the Dutch now. And knight f6. If they want, they can take. I don't care. I have queen a5 check and that. Sometimes what I do to force the Mujannah formation to happen is to play knight c6. Because now they have pawn to d5. Okay, now with pawn to c3, they want to take for sure. Let me take. It doesn't make sense for me to keep on waiting. Oh, okay. Knight takes. Bishop e7, castle shot. End of story. In fact, I might even transpose this to the stone wall like this. Bishop e7. Again, this is what you do if your opponent tries to play something else. So now this is just the reversed stonewall defense. In fact, the perfect version of the stonewall defense. You think about it. I know my opponent wants to play this move now. Let me pin their rook. And then activate my a rook, putting it on d8. So if c4 is played, I'll play bishop s6. I can still play bishop s6, attacking that rook. Create a battery on this side of the board. If I want, I can even put my bishop here. Okay. There's a way I can trap my opponent's queen by doing this. Yeah. They're going to self-trap themselves. Like this and that. I don't know why my opponent had to play queen e5. Because now the queen is trapped. If you think about it, it's trapped. So once again, my opponent tried to refute my Mujannah formation. And now this is the position, the situation they have found themselves in. I guess it is just time to resign. There's nothing to do here. Queen d4, rook c4. Yep, so my opponent just resigned. Because, I mean, their queen is dead. Right, so that was a 2-minute bullet match. Let's move on to a 1-minute bullet match. Oh, well, I guess my opponent just pre-moved pawn to c4. Let me give them one more chance to see pawn to d5 or pawn takes by going f5. And now this is the Mujannah formation, you guys. I'm playing against a 2601 rated player. So here I said, be quick in development on the king side first, before attending to the queen side. So pawn to d6 now. S6. Then castle short. There's another move that you always need to keep in mind. Pawn to h6. Maybe before castling short, play pawn to h6 to stop knight g5 and that knight maneuver. So now let's do that. Knight d7 and king h7. So this is our formation. By the way, this is a 2600 rated player, so I don't need to take them for granted. Need to be very serious now. Let's do this and that. Oh, I wanted to pre-move where it was not necessary. Excuse me, I'm attacking that. I want to take here. Can I? Is it possible to take? Let's exchange knights. Or I'm just going to play knight e4 next. Looks like I'm winning this game. Ooh. What happened? Oh, I won on time. I guess I was winning this game not just on time, but I mean, I played very well. I mean, I need your approval, you guys. Let's just see what Stockfish says about this. Okay, Stockfish says the game was dead equal. In this position, I was not worse. I mean, I was just doing great. But the fact that the Mujannah formation made a 2600 rated player to overthink and run out of time explains a lot. You can see how difficult this formation can be to crack. So now you know, play the Mujannah formation any day, anytime, and you will never regret it. By the way you support this channel is by joining one of our membership tiers on Patreon, or simply buying my courses at www.KaspaChess.com or on my Patreon page. That really helps.